Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, having worked in Kilifi as a doctor, Mr. Speaker, I would be failing if I don't stand in this House
Senator
to support
Mazayo, Senator Tabitha, and Senator Methu. I call you to order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was saying, as a public servant who has worked in Kilifi as a doctor for many years, I would be failing, Mr. Speaker, if I didn't stand in this House strongly and supported those teachers in that request. I know the committee is going to be up to the task, and very quickly they'll bring the report. But careful, colleagues. This thing is bigger. You've heard the thoughts of the leader of the majority. It is not an area where we can have uniformity and therefore concurrence across the floor. Mr. Speaker, we need to call the Council of Governors. We need to have a conversation with governors. Governors are starting abstract projects and not committing devolved funds for provision of water, fixing of roads, and with the support of the national government, electricity. The so-called hardship areas are hardship because workers and the inhabitants have no access to water. They find it difficult to travel, things which can be fixed by governors. So we need to put a high standard that the so-called marginalized areas, the governors must be persuaded not to pursue abstract projects. Instead, they invest in these basic services, Mr. Speaker, because for how long? It is 60 years since independence. Shall we continue separating civil servants, that this one should get more and this one get less because of where they are working? Mr. Speaker, which brings me, and because it is debate, I hope, Leader of Majority, you will not feel that we're challenging you. But Leader of Majority, I want us to think collectively. What was the spirit of Equalization Fund? Once upon a time when in this House, Equalization Fund meant what the Constitution wanted it to be. Namely, to quickly bring up the marginalized areas which we know to speed so they can be as close as possible as the rest of the country. But what has happened later on? It has been changed, Mr. Speaker. Marginalized areas have now been equated to areas with high levels of poverty. If you make that mistake, then, Mr. Speaker, it means the same way a marginalized area in a far end in Kilifi, in a far end in North Horr, deserves to draw from these funds, then even Kibra, Mukurukwanjenga, Maraba slums in Kakamega, and all the slums in urban centers will then be entitled to this money. So this Senate must have this conversation. Otherwise, we will be here for 10 years, some will go, others will come back, and the issue of inequality will be, this House is a house of equality. We must bring the country together. Those people from the northeastern province, they wanted to go to vernacular, so that, yes, to Kiswahili, so that the people from that area could hear me very well, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
I thank you, the Speaker, for saving us from Senator Khalwale. Speaker, that matter raised by teachers from Kilifi